my mind a lot. Don't need no time watch. I don't know how I got you in my pocket spot. Yeah, that's babe, need you every day. You like my oxygen. Make it seem like the barging down. Got my heart no barging in. From the bed to the floor to the couch. Might wake the neighbors up. Break you in and break you out. In the end, we're gonna make it.
Dionna, welcome back. Another edition of All Time High.
Hi.
Today, it's kind of a dark day. There's some things I'm wearing purple. I usually like to wear purple for my Horned Frogs, but today it looks like you're wearing purple too. This is our purple edition. I've got my LSU shirt on, and the reason I do is because they won the national championship in men's college baseball yesterday.
That's awesome.
So,
that's amazing.
Congrats to all the Tigers out there. It isn't that I necessarily like or dislike LSU. It's a great school. I think I'm more into this because of what transpired. My disappointment exists from what transpired on the baseball field. Have you seen what happened in the first inning of the game?
No, what happened?
Well, I'm gonna share it with you here, and I think we could come up with a use case. I have at least for blockchain with regard, and I want you to poke holes in it in just a second, but I want you to see the emotion that literally shifted the momentum of the series. Here we are in game 2.
Yep.
LSU is playing Coastal Carolina, and here we go.
Steals that one easy on a throw inside the bag.
Well, with Ianson, about every count is potentially a breaking ball count. He throws that curveball, the slider, roughly 50% of the time.
Oh, my goodness. He just threw Kevin Shaw out of the game. Wow.
All right, so let's put some context on that. We're going to keep the tape rolling here in just a second, but it's the first inning of a best-of-3 series, game 2.
Okay.
And the coach is questioning the umpire for some of the balls and strikes. They're completely judgment calls. And by rule, you're not allowed to contest judgment calls. But apparently the coach had something to say. You wouldn't think that an umpire would throw a coach out of a national championship game. You really, as an umpire, don't want to make the game about you. But this game has become about them. I mean, it's taken a little bit of the luster off of the LSU championship. Do you want to watch a little bit more?
Yeah, of course I do.
All right, here we go.
Do they fight? Are they going to get in a fist fight? That's my favorite.
Well, I want you to watch. One umpire tries to get in the way, and I want you to tell me, you're going to watch it one time. Did the coach push him, or did he fall down on his own? Here we go.
In the bottom of the first inning, the home plate umpire throws Kevin Schnall out of this game, and
there you go.
To get in the middle of things.
He got ran over.
And I believe, guys, this had to do what happened at the end of the top of the first with the third base coach for LSU. This seems to stem from the first base coach, and then Schnall.
There he puts up 2 fingers, 2-game suspension, 2 games.
Series game 2 in the bottom of the first. And I didn't even see that building, guys. Like, it's one pitch, and next thing you know, Schnall's out of the dugout, and Angel Campos had clearly heard enough. That thing escalated quickly. And again, this will always come back to whatever was said.
So then they threw the other coach out. And so, again, one of the biggest moments in college sport for men's baseball is tarnished by
They threw the other coach out too?
Yeah.
Why?
You're not allowed, technically, by law, to argue balls and strikes.
Okay. All right.
But
Interesting.
Here's my use case. I mean, there is the human condition. The umpires are calling balls and strike, but not unlike crypto and financially, we talk about utility. There's judgment. There is technology today that exists that could call balls and strikes for the umpires.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I think it's still subject to, at the end of the day, because think about it. So I like to get very analytical on this stuff, right? And let's think through the process. The ball is going over the plate, right?
Yes.
So the umpire's behind it. He says, okay, it was in the lines. It was up and down. It's good. Even if you have some type of technology there trying to vet that and do the same thing, you're still going to have a margin of error, right? Maybe it goes over just a little bit and it didn't capture it the right way. Maybe it's just a little bit higher and it doesn't capture it the right way. Like, even technology itself is not, think about when you take a picture and the picture's not right. or, you know what I mean? Like it just doesn't always work the way that you would think it would. But I do think that AI would be a really interesting play, or some type of something to help would be an interesting play, and probably a little bit better than human error.
Well, and I think what happened here for me to call for the change is the human emotion of not only the coach, who's like, "Hey, ref or ump, you're not calling this fairly," is then juxtaposed to the umpire who says, "I'm not going to let you show me up on this grand stage." And you know that that's a rule, but it was just his emotion, his thin skin. Sorry.
Yep.
Even the announcer in the moment said, you don't normally see coaches get thrown out of the game in the first inning of a championship event.
No, there's a first time for everything, right? I mean, but emotions are high and everybody wants to win. And I mean, they just weren't calling in LSU, or they were just making repetitive bad calls, was essentially why he came out.
Yes, but it was in the first inning, so it wasn't like he had made that many bad calls. I'd argue, and he wasn't the umpire behind home plate from the night before, but there was that emotional residual overhang of the night before. And this is the issue, trust, right? And this is why it comes back to blockchain to me. I mean, I could envision, if you will, even the blockchain recording these transactions on a chain, a ball, a strike for every pitch, every time, relentlessly. And you would have an authentic, non-duplicated record of the truth. You see, trust and truth, there's 4 out of 5 letters are the same.
Yeah.
It's not in the same sequence, but that's where you're really trying to get to. And what you're talking about is the coach didn't trust the ump to make the right calls. And the ump, well, he didn't trust the coach enough to let him stick around to hear what it was that he wanted to say. He knew his rule book better than he knew the situation.
I love that you bring this up, right? Because in mixed martial arts, I would used to advise a bunch of managers about what blockchain projects would be good and which one wouldn't be. And so if we start thinking about the use case of this, right? You're saying, okay, to be able to record balls and strikes, you know what I mean, or data, any type of baseball data on the blockchain. So there's a couple things you'd have to think about. Like, for one, do you know what GDPR is?
No, not off the top.
So
gross
GDPR,
domestic product is my guess, but I have no idea.
No. So it's actually a European rule, and it's called the right to erasure.
Yeah.
And you cannot put any personal information on a blockchain whatsoever, right? So that would be hiccup number one. If you ever try to take this to any European places, or let's say it's a European baseball player, maybe somebody's over from Europe, you're already in violation of GDPR. So that would be a hard one. The second thing I would say is who's recording it? Like, at what point when the ball goes over, you know what I mean, it makes the call, it gets recorded. I mean, and our calls never changed. Or I know sometimes they do replays, maybe not in college, but I've seen them do replays on bases before, right? Where they could go back and say, oh no, he was safe, or no, he wasn't safe, right? So you'd have to say, okay, at what point in time are we actually putting this on the blockchain? Then
I want it real time. I want it real.
It's a real time, right? But
balls and
once
strikes.
it's there, you can't change it.
Yeah, so that's my point.
Yeah, but let's say you call him out at first and then the video says he's safe. How would you go back?
Okay, now you're talking about a totally different dynamic. I'm talking about balls and strikes. I am talking about the use case is why this coach got kicked out of the game when it was the judgment factor. He didn't trust the judgment that the umpire was issuing. This takes trust and makes it authenticated. You would have, I believe, fans that would log it. See, there's a bias. It's the unspoken bias here, and I'm going to speak it. I'm going to say the quiet part out loud.
Go ahead.
The SEC has this huge contract with ESPN. And so there's this inclination to believe that the SEC is predestined to win, predestined to have umpires make favorable calls, referees make favorable calls, for there to be money being paid by Boudreaux and Thibodeau to get LSU the national championship. Excuse my Bobby Boucher accent there, but I'm from that part of the country, and so I can relate to it.
Yeah,
it is a known, you believe it to be true. And then you see things like this happen. And so that was just the coach speaking up. And so I think,
how does blockchain in that though? Like, I understand, trust, but verify. I mean, that's something that we talk about all the time, but when it comes to the actual call itself, that's not blockchain, right?
No, it's not. I think it would be the technology, the AI.
Okay. So AI would be making the call and then it would automatically be recorded on the blockchain.
Yes. A ball or a strike. Unalterable, immutable, legendary record forever, evermore.
And there's no comparative system that could do that right now. Let's say you do AI without the blockchain. Is that possible?
Very much.
Okay. So this is where like, we used to have a saying in, you know, I think 2018, everybody is like, put it on the blockchain. Like, hey,
Well, I'm there. That's where I'm
put it on
at.
the blockchain. Well,
Yeah.
but it takes a lot of data to store that stuff, right?
Okay.
It's a massive amount of data. Now you're talking about one blockchain. Is it one blockchain for the entire college? So that means every single school, every single game. Go ahead. I mean, it's just a lot. Who's maintaining that?
Well, let every university enter into agreements with everybody else, and whatever you're paying the umpires, you're going to save in cost, invest, take the personnel, move it over to technology line item, and you're going to have a better experience for not only the nobody wanted to see that coach get kicked out, not even the coach from the other team. He knows it's unfortunate too.
Yeah.
And the umpire and the human judgment and the bias that gets introduced gets eliminated. And I think you have a fair, more complete competition. Do you need the blockchain? No, not really. Not necessarily, but
yeah, I think it's a better argument for AI, right? I think like to have the systems there to say the cameras in the front, like you could put a multifaceted camera system. I mean, again, you'd have to think the logistics of this. Where are they? Is the ball going to hit it? What happens if the ball hits the camera? You know what I mean? Like,
oh yeah,
this is what I love to think this stuff through, right? So it's okay. Now this is what we're going to do. We're buying the camera. What kind of system? Where are we putting the camera? Who, you know what I mean? Like, sometimes when you start walking through the steps, it says, maybe that's not as viable as we thought. And sometimes it's like, oh, maybe this is as good as we thought, or maybe there's a better way of doing it. And that's essentially how I would go back and verify different projects. I'll tell you, if there's no value add, like in this particular instance, and it's not that there isn't, I don't think a compelling argument has been made that the time and the money that would be spent on blockchain would be worth it in this instance. I think AI might be a different story. So when you start thinking through some of these projects, you know, for listeners out there or the viewers, which by the way, don't forget to subscribe and like and share, because you know you love our stuff. Yeah.
So you get notified when we have an episode that gets launched. Yeah.
But as you guys are going through and evaluating projects and saying, okay, is this viable? Is this, you know, I'll give you a prime example. One of my first projects, I don't even want to talk about it because I'm so ashamed to have even been associated with it. It's 10 years later. It's down to one developer, just one. Okay. It's 10 years old. It is the lowest it's ever been since almost its inception. It is out of money. You know what I mean? And then now the founder is going to deprecate the old system, print 14 million coins, which I'm so happy that they're redoing the government, because that is not what government would do at all, right? When it's out of money. So it's reprinting these coins. And in this 14 million coins it's going to mint, or 16 million coins valued at 2 cents a coin right now, that they're going to flood the market with. So liquidity is probably not even going to be there. This one developer in this project with no money, doing worse 10 years later, is going to build. Are you ready for this? Do you want to hear what?
Yeah, I do. What's going on?
They are going to build contracts, media, Uber, AI, decentralized internet, decentralized launch pads, right? And this I'm telling you, one person in a supposed community. So people are going in and they're like, oh yes, I love this. I want to change the world. And that makes sense. And I can't wait for decentralized internet. But when you go back and you actually look at the viability, like what is the actual probability that's going to happen with this project? It's zero. It's zero. Yeah. One developer, no money, can't make all those things happen. So don't get caught up in the emotion.
Oh, but I do.
I know you do. I know you do.
I mean, here's like this whole thing fixes only one problem for me: trust. I don't trust the umpire to make the right call every single time.
Yeah.
And I've seen it happen. I played sports my entire life, and I think there are things that are judgment calls. Fouls are fouls, but whether or not the ball went through the basket, to shift this over to another point, is an entirely different dynamic. Yep. Baseball, whether it's a ball or strike, I think it's a pretty clean thing. And to see us lose a national championship game to that weak moment on both sides of the coin, the rules are the rules, right? Like, I'm not trying to get caught up in the rules being too much or too granular, but have you seen the technology that exists with tennis players? Like, I think they're allowed to appeal once or twice a game if the serve is in. I mean, they're hitting that ball 120, 140 miles an hour, and there's like an oblong impression as the ball is distorted from the impact it makes with the ground. Yeah. There's no chair umpire that can identify the oblong impression of the ball as it hits the ground. But if you look, it's pretty precise and makes the call every single time.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think that argument for the technology that you're talking about, I think that gives you more trust, right? Like,
Yes.
I know we associate trust with blockchain, so I can understand how your mind went straight to there. I think you introduce problems by having an immutable record of sports, because for the exact thing you just said, maybe later in baseball they can challenge it. I know in MMA you can challenge it. So, for example, over the weekend they were in Baku, and there was a fight. And in this one fight, the guy poked the other guy in the eye twice and then gave him an illegal knee to the head, all in the first round, right?
Oh,
so yep. And so let's say they got to continue fighting. But let's say at the end of that, the guy who had done those 3 things would have won. The other guy could have petitioned the boxing commission and said, but look at all these things. And the boxing commission could have reversed it to a no contest or a law. You know what I mean? Like, so when you can allow changes like that, I think introducing an immutable record becomes more damaging than good. Unless you just want to prove to everybody, like, here's where they continue to screw up all the time.
Well, I'm willing to take my bet on technology versus the human side of it.
I agree.
Right?
I agree.
That's like, I also see this as a place for voting and other things that are just strictly technologically driven.
Sure.
If you have the technology, it sounds like to me in that scenario that you described that somebody had to make a judgment call, and maybe that umpire didn't, or the ref, however you want to describe it, didn't make a judgment call. Is that fair? Did they fail to act? Was that?
Well, no, they took points. They took points, but when he got the illegal knee to the head because he could still see out of the eye, the doctor didn't call it. So he ended up, again, he got decimated because those points become super important at the end, right? I'll be quick, but in boxing or in MMA, it's of 10, right? So if 10 is the highest I can go and I got 2 points deducted and now the best I can do is an 8, that's detrimental. You know what I mean? Because now you have
inhibits your chances of winning. Yeah,
it decreases it a lot. But had he won, had he knocked him out, choked him, in any other way, had it finished the fight, the guy would have had a very solid thing to go back and dispute it. Now, what could be interesting is, let's say you use the AI, or even in the beginning, you have some type of verification process for the referees, umpires, right? And you start tracking their mistakes on blockchain, right? Because you can't go back. Now you have an immutable record that cannot be changed. And maybe that is something that would allow or disallow those people to continue in those roles. That one could be interesting.
In terms of like being an umpire,
it could be interesting.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you could reconcile it to their calls and the actual, I mean, that is probably a stepping off point. And I also, I go to where the trust issue resides, but I also go to where the money is. And so there's a lot of money that the networks spend, that advertisers spend, that the commissioners of the leagues would want to make sure that they have a verifiable source of the truth, right? If they could be the trusted league, the trusted resource,
yes,
in a world where trust is, would you say it's eroding? That's my take.
No, it's definitely, listen, have you not seen what's going on in the world these days? Trust is definitely eroding everywhere.
But you know where it's not eroding? It's not eroding here on all-time high.
That's right, because you trust us.
And we will see you on the next episode. Thanks, Dionna.
Bye, everyone.
You on my mind a lot. Don't need no time watch. I don't know how I got you in my